Hello and welcome to our first intermission of 2016.
We're here to commemorate the life of possibly the greatest man to ever cancel Christmas, and we're talking about the very sad passing of Alan Rickman.
A passing that hit, I think, a lot of film fans very, very
Yeah,
hard.
I think on top of just Bowie dying, like it just seemed like a lot of. I think the thing is with Rickman, I don't think anyone expected it.
No.
69 years old. One of the things that was really sad was he actually just last year he directed his second feature film, and I sort of wonder maybe did he know maybe it was terminal and did he want to kind of direct one more film before he went actually?
Well, he was keeping it
was pretty sad.
Extraordinarily private as well, because a lot of the people who worked with him and were sort of commenting on it when it happened had no idea. I think he was diagnosed very, very recently though. I think it was like August. There were reports saying that he had a stroke in August, and then he found out that he had cancer, and then he kind of was keeping it very, very quiet and stuff. But I mean, just one of the most charismatic actors of all time.
What a body of work. Die Hard, Love Actually, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah, I read a thing earlier that said even when he was playing villains, but he never said he didn't like saying that he played villains. He said he only played very interesting people.
Yeah.
But whenever he played villains, he just still had this incredible sense of fun
humor and wit,
charisma, and charm. And Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but obviously, famously, his first Hollywood role, one of his first screen roles,
42.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Hans Gruber.
Yeah, even when he was killing people in cold blood, he was so charming with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he gave like villains the thing they didn't have up to that point, which was sophistication.
Right.
You know, the bit where he kind of admires Mr. Takagi's suit and kind of says, "I have two myself," and then he's quoting I think it's Ovid on Alexander. And Alexander wept because there was no more worlds left to conquer. Like, I don't think we'd ever had a villain that was, let's face it, a lot better educated than the hero before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, John McClane was a kind of blue-collar guy, and you had this guy who was kind of brought up on, educated in Latin, brought up on the classics, and was pretty slimy to, kind of go on with. But there was always, like, he was always a really watchable person. Even kind of like his most like unlikable characters, he always had that kind of dry wit to them. I'm thinking of Snape and Harry Potter.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you hear that an actor has died, or when you hear that someone who has a body of work such as his dies, I mean, your mind immediately goes to that one movie in particular. And I was surprised thinking about this in hindsight that I didn't immediately go to Die Hard. I actually went to Snape because I think that's one of the most. But I just think that performance that he gave as Snape, that trajectory that character kind of has, you look into his eyes in that first movie and you watch him in that last movie and you can just tell that journey that he's like been on the whole way through. And I just, it's very, very sad. I'm still kind of...
Yeah. No, I think kind of in terms of eulogies, I think J.K. Rowling kind of gave him the best one, I think he'll be remembered as one of the kind of best screen actors ever, and I think the words she kind of used for Snape were still, always.
I think also though, like there's a real appreciation of how diverse that body of work that he had was.
Truly, madly, deeply. He's an amazing drama.
You talk about a guy who played a lot of villains, but you look at something like Dogma, which we were talking about earlier, and Kevin Smith actually did a really hilarious, beautiful, very, very profoundly moving tribute to him on one of his podcasts. And you got roles like Dogma, you got roles like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. You mentioned Truly, Madly, Deeply, which is just incredible.
I actually think it's an amazing performance in Love Actually. In Love Actually, genuinely, I think that's a great, like, probably the best performance in the film. And he plays, someone who's cheating on his wife, and he still manages to invest it with such, like, you do still feel kind of sorry for him.
It's interesting that is a plot that takes place among a movie that has an ensemble cast and features all these different narrative threads. But yet that performance that he gave of a man who is being unfaithful, I mean, there are movies that are built entirely around that premise, and I have believed the performances less in those movies than I have in this movie that's kind of a mosaic of all these different characters. So he kind of he dovetails in and out of that movie, and yet that's such a believable performance. And I kind of don't not like him in that movie, and I know we kind of should, but you just believe that instead of being a man who's done just a bad thing, he's profoundly flawed.
But again, like, I mean, how lucky are we, and how was he, to start his career at 41, 42
and make such an impact.
And give us such a body, really, like, I think kind of he had a great run, and it's just sad to kind of see him go. I was kind of hopeful. They're kind of talking about doing Die Hard 6 at the minute. I was really hoping they'd find some way to shoehorn him in.
Well,
You know, Hans Gruber's granddad or something.
what was this? You were telling me a story after he died about when they were shooting his, spoiler alert, his death in Die Hard.
Oh yeah.
This is a really funny story.
Not John McTiernan, who directed Die Hard. There's a great story. He talks about the making of it. At the end of Die Hard, whenever Hans Gruber falls off Nakatomi Plaza, the look of shock on his face isn't acting. Basically, what McTiernan did to get that shock was he basically had the stuntman drop Rickman on 2 instead of 3. And Rickman apparently never forgave him for it. So apparently, like, he was expecting to drop on 3, got dropped on 2, and the look of shock you see is real. But then again, I just sort of think, you know, I watched Die Hard again at Christmas, and you believe every moment of that performance, and it doesn't feel, that moment still feels as much as a performance as anything else, even though that moment's as much a special effect as anything else. You know, so I think, you know, kind of the ends justify the means there.
I think the other thing as well that has been sort of very prevalent in all these people who are talking about him, who worked with him, is what a kind man he was. Do you know what I mean? You know, there's the body of work is one thing, but one thing that's actually really kind of a silver lining in a way is you learn a lot about what these people were like
as people.
Do you know what I mean? As people, and just apparently the warmest, nicest guy. Daniel Radcliffe told a story about how no matter where he was in the world, if you contacted him, it would be less than 24 hours before he'd get back to you. Kevin Smith again tells these just unbelievable stories about how they always would meet up, and he would always ask about his family, and he would always be given gifts and stuff. So just a profoundly decent man as well.
The word I think Radcliffe used for him was loyal. Apparently Radcliffe said he doesn't think he ever did a play that Alan Rickman wasn't in the audience for, and I think the next time he does a play, it'll be a really sad moment for him, just to know that guy kind of won't be out there kind of like, you know, kind of wishing him well. And
also, I mean, he had one love of his life. He was with the same woman for...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they
met,
really cool. They were high school sweethearts and moved in together, I think, in 1977 and got married in 2012. Yeah. So he was with the same woman for...
Can I give one recommend for people to watch, actually? If you're something that you mightn't have seen. If you've ever seen Vincent by Tim Burton, it was his first film. It's kind of... you know, a Tim Burton-esque story, and it's voiced by Vincent Price, who's always a hero of Burton's, and an Irish director here did a short called The Boy in the Bubble, which is absolutely fantastic. But the Irish Film Board have actually released it after Rickman's death, and Rickman's the one who does the voiceover to the whole thing, and it's a beautiful kind of like poem about a small kind of boy falling in love and learning to kind of use witchcraft to heal his heart, and it's really so well done, and I think it's a really nice kind of fitting tribute. I think we'll try and post it up on the Facebook page later, actually, because it's kind of, I showed it the day after he died to one of my classes, and a couple of people got really choked up. I may have been one of them.
So before we wrap this up, I mean, with a body work like his, it's kind of trivial to say, but do you have that one Alan Rickman performance?
Oh, well, I have a really fond spot for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Me too, that's mine.
Well, it wasn't, I still have to go with Die Hard, but I do kind of think he took someone who could have been a pantomime villain and gave him genuine, pathos and
also
tragedy.
A villain, though, that is just, like, known, you know, he's been immortalized in literature, he's been immortalized in mythology. You know, everyone knows Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham, that story. So I think to do what he did with that character and make him so entertaining and not, archetypal.
You actually don't know what he did. Costner got really pissed off during it because he could see it turning into the Alan Rickman show, and Costner in the edit had a load of Rickman scenes cut out because he realised Rickman was stealing the film from him.
But that's the thing, when I think of that movie, I kind of do think more about
Alan Rickman
than I do about... And I forgot Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater in that movie. Like, that's a, so that's a great...
Madeline Stowe.
Is she in that movie?
She is.
There you go, I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
But, that would be, that and Love Actually. And Snape, I have a real just soft spot for his performance as Snape.
Yeah, he is quite good. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. But, Alan Rickman, good night and thank you.
Tremendous body of work.